Hi, everybody. It's Benjamin and Lisa Shield, and it is lovely to see all of you. Welcome back to another Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. And today we are going to be talking about how to mirror a man's masculinity back to him and what that means. This is a term that my husband uses, my wonderful husband, Benjamin. And so we're going to explore what that means and why it's so important and how you can do it. So I'm very, very excited about today's topic. And, we hear often so much about how women need to be more feminine and lean back and let a man chase you and all of these things that we hear that women are supposed to do. And a lot of what's being put out by other love coaches or dating coaches always feels to me like women are being told to sit back and let a man do everything, right? We're just supposed to sit back and lean back and let a man come to us, plan the dates, pay for the dates, initiate, everything, including sex, and that as women, we're just supposed to sit there and receive. And I think that this is really not a good approach. In fact, one of our future Facebook lives, and maybe we'll even do this next time, is we'll talk about women taking what I call the feminine lead. I think it's very, very important that a woman understand the things that she should do and can do to encourage a man to want to pursue her. So it's not okay to just sit back and expect men to do everything. So before we get into that topic, I just want to say that this is one of 3 presentations I do each week. You can catch me on Facebook. I do Lunch with Lisa on Mondays, and that is from 12 to 12:30 Mountain Time. I do Live with Lisa on Tuesdays, which is 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And then we do this, my favorite presentation of all, and this is Getting Inside the Right Male Mind with my wonderful husband, Benjamin Shield, who really is my muse in everything I do. This man is my greatest inspiration. After 19 years, I really can't get enough of him. And I just want to say before we begin, that my clients don't just find love, they find extraordinary relationships like the one I have with my husband. You can hear many of those interviews with my clients. You can hear them on my podcast, Dating Without Drama. You can find them on YouTube and also all over Facebook. But these clients that I interview are a testament to the work that Benjamin and I do together and the results of that work. These women find partners who are every bit as loving and supportive and woke as my husband is. I love it when I'm 60 years old and I'm using a hip word like that. So, all right. So let's dive in, baby. This is a term that you have coined, mirroring a man's masculinity back to him. So let's start with just talking about what that means.
Well, I've always felt that in a relationship, the most important things for a woman, or 2 of the most important things, is to feel cherished, beyond her wild imagination, and also to feel protected physically, spiritually, financially, all of the above. And for a man, it's even more simple. A man needs his masculinity mirrored back to him. And if he doesn't have that, he begins to either withdraw from the relationship or seek it elsewhere.
But can you define, because that is not a term that women readily understand. So please explain what that even means.
Right. For a man to feel masculine, he could feel it within himself. But to truly feel masculine, it's mirrored back by, in a heterosexual relationship, by a woman or by the women he sees. And that could be as simple as, wow, you're so manly, to letting a man open the door to pay for the bill, but to really mirror back to him that he's carrying on his masculine function. A man wants to be a man. And in a relationship, a woman wants the man to really be a man, to be masculine. And that is not a noun, it's a verb. It's something that constantly needs to be created in a relationship.
So again, I really think this needs to be really defined. So women want their femininity mirrored back to them. And so that may be a man saying, wow, like you look beautiful in that outfit, or your hair looks so pretty, or we want a man, like you said, to make us feel cherished and or protected. And that brings out our femininity, right? When a man takes care of us, when he plans a wonderful date, when he follows through it, if he says he's going to call at a certain time, he calls at a certain time. Those are ways that we feel taken care of and cherished and valued in the eyes of a man. And in doing so, that brings forth our femininity, right? We surrender, we feel like we can let go, we can surrender, that this man has it under control, and we can give him the reins and let him lead. And when a man does that, we can relax into our feminine nature. So I want to very specifically define, what is it? Maybe let's do it in terms of you and me. Okay?
Well, let's first do it in general terms.
Okay.
And first, a man in a relationship deeply wants to make the woman happy. And he does it by often a certain amount of sacrifice, working hard at work, working among competition where he may be afraid of losing his job or someone taking, his place, in the hierarchy of work, of protecting, just even locking the house at night or making sure she's safe. And often men do this, but they're not acknowledged for it.
Right.
And so it's so important for a man just to hear the words, I so deeply appreciate you. You are such a man. The way that you show up at work, the way that you protect me, to protect the family, if there's a family, and that you do what you say you're going to do. You are a man. And that not only makes him feel like $1,000,000, but it makes him want to be even more of a man for the woman.
And the opposite of that, and something that very often happens, especially in relationships today, women want these very successful men. Women want these very successful men who are CEOs and world changers and whatever. And then they berate them for not making time for them, right? And you have, especially with younger men, you have men who are building their kingdom. They're sowing their seeds. It's the time in their life where they're really establishing themselves. And then they come home to a woman who's angry and frustrated because he's not making enough time for her, or she doesn't feel like a priority. But in many ways, what he really wants to hear is, wow, I am so proud of you, and I see how hard you work and how you take care of me and the family, and that means so much to me instead of making him feel like he's failing her for not doing those things. So one would be mirroring his masculinity back to him, and one would be emasculating him.
Yeah. And I'd have to say that when a man has his masculinity mirrored back to him, even if it's something as simple as, you are such a man. I so admire how you go out there and every day you fight for us. You earn a living. You're in that jungle of competition. You're commuting, X amount of minutes or hours a day for us. And you are such a man. It not only makes him feel masculine, but it's an aphrodisiac.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he doesn't get it, he begins to withdraw. He begins to dissociate from the relationship, and and the marriage begins to cool until it's cold, until you have two non-intimate strangers living in the same house.
Yeah, and that's really, a lot of women don't realize that this is where sex goes by the wayside.
Mhm.
The physical intimacy, just a man doesn't even want to perform sexually because he doesn't feel confident and virile and masculine in the eyes of his partner. So it takes this tremendous toll. I saw this happening all the time when I was coaching couples. The man would lose his desire to perform sexually with his partner because of what we're talking about right here. He was working so hard in the ways that he was taught by his father and his father's, his father's father. And he was trying to be successful and provide and have a beautiful home and make money and all. And I think one of the things that's a very difficult situation for both men and women today is that now women are also contributing and are breadwinners and all. And so even that can become emasculating or become an issue because she's earning, right? And he's also working and earning a living. The man may feel like he doesn't really have a way to impress the woman because that's now being taken away from him when that was, for centuries, for decades, a man's responsibility to provide financially for the family. And then to come home to a woman who's angry because there's no time, he's not making time for her, and she's not really seeing and valuing that masculine instinct that has been built into men to want to be top dog and be, the best provider he can possibly be. That takes away from a man's masculinity, and it's heartbreaking. I think that it's very important for women to understand that as much as we love our work, our careers, and what we're doing in the world, a man just has a very different relationship to his work and what it means for his identity and how he sees himself as a man.
Oh yeah, you can't separate the man from his work. It's inseparable, and if if that's done, there's a big chunk of him that can't be replaced. Because particularly if it's a career that's close to his heart. And you mentioned if a woman, there are two income families, and if a woman makes more than a man, it can be emasculating. And in those cases, it's just really being deeply, deeply interested in what he does during the day, what he did during work, and validating it. Knowing that his income may not be as much as hers, but she's deeply interested and validating everything he does with his job. Whether he may have lost his job during the pandemic or whatever, he may be waiting tables, and for a woman to say, "How was your day? What was it like? whoa, that sounded hard, or wow, that was great how you handled that. He'll feel great. He won't feel like, oh man, I went from a $150,000 a year job to waiting tables. He will still feel important, or as
Yeah.
important as possible.
Yeah. And we experience this. I mean, just to share from a personal level, you had a 38, 40-year practice in Los Angeles that you had poured your life and your heart into. And it was one of the best practices of its kind as a physical, not a physical therapist, but a manual therapist working on pain, right, and soft tissue injury. And you had done this for years, establishing yourself as one of the very best in the world, and something that was heartbreaking. You never thought in a million years. In fact, you used to say to me, I have the best career because I can go anywhere and work. All I need are my hands. And then we never imagined in a million years that you wouldn't be able to work because you couldn't touch someone.
Because of the pandemic.
Because of the pandemic. And I was so touched and proud and admiring of you, how you didn't skip a beat. You came on my Q&A calls with the women who are in my 12-week emotionally naked dating coaching program. You wrote you started writing their online dating profiles, which are masterpieces. And it was an unfortunate situation, and yet you didn't skip a beat. You just saw where you could be productive and useful for both of us. And a dream of mine actually came true. Out of misfortune can often come great fortune. My dream of us being able to work together came true. And here we are now working together and helping these women and giving them a gift that they would never get, which is, they get to be the beneficiaries of your brilliant insights, which, oh my goodness, I just feel like that alone is worth its weight in platinum. And then, you and I are on the calls, on our weekly Q&A calls together, so they have the benefit of seeing how you and I interact. So we model for them what a guardian of your soul relationship looks like, which the women love. And then they get these profiles, which are really diamonds. I could not imagine someone writing better profiles anywhere. And what's so touching for me is that even though you're now rebuilding your practice here in Santa Fe and you're going, your practice is picking up, I mean, it is awesome how you are I love, the other night we went to an event here in Santa Fe for the mayor, the mayor of Santa Fe. It was a fundraiser event for him. And, we were fortunate enough to meet some wonderful people. And I loved watching you network. And, already you've gotten some wonderful clients coming in just from that event because you're such a magnet. So, but I'm so grateful that you're still willing to work with me, which is amazing. And we can work together in the program. So I just want everyone to see that this is how I talk to my husband.
Right.
This is how I talk to him. I was doing that purposely because this is how I mirror his masculinity back to him. I am constantly praising him. I am constantly acknowledging. That would be a very typical conversation, or that you would, or pray, that would be a very typical Lisa Shield mirroring Benjamin Shield's masculinity back to him. And if you're seeing right now the expression on his face, this is the impact of what I say to him on my husband. So it really is authentic, but and it stems from just incredible love and respect and admiration for this beautiful man. And I don't think I should be unique in the world. Like, I think every woman, I would hope every woman feels the way about her man that I feel about you, honey. But that's, what is the impact of that on you? Because that was a good example of mirroring your masculinity back to you.
Yeah. Well, it makes me feel 10 feet tall. And, and it makes me feel like a man at a time in my life where it may have been diminished. My identity for the last 40 years, almost 40 plus years, has been my career.
Yeah.
And, my relationship with you. But with that gone for a while, I could have been in the dumps. I could have really been depressed, withdrawn. And it's not just the big things that you mirror back, it's the little things. I had a cancellation at the end of the day yesterday, and I cooked dinner. And you couldn't get over how much you were enjoying it. This morning, you got up and you hugged me and you said, thank you so much for the wonderful dinner. And it makes me feel great. It makes me want to cook dinner tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the little things also, as well as the big things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's most important, not only every day, but those times where there may be a downside in a man's life. There may be a disruption. There may be questioning his own masculinity, his sexuality, his level of sexuality with aging, his body changing, all of those things. And, all of those things are happening with me, just with age. I'm 69. And you're constantly giving me praise about my body, how sexy I am, all of those things. And it keeps the relationship alive. It keeps it playful. It keeps it sensuous, always. And I attribute it to you.
Oh. Wow, it's wonderful to hear. I can see the look in your eyes when I will mirror your masculinity back to you. And it just makes me feel so good. It's so genuine when it comes from me. But I remember one day I said, just because I say nice things all the time to you, that doesn't mean I don't really mean them. I'm not making this stuff up. And you looked at me and you said, well, that would be okay too.
Well, and I said that as a joke, but it's actually true. Men need their masculinity mirrored back so deeply that they will go to places and pretend that their masculinity is mirrored back to them. They will go to strip clubs, with a stack of dollar bills, and it's like an automated machine. Here's some money, mirror back my masculinity to me, and then they leave. They go home, but it's completely made up. It's completely make believe. It's completely pretend. But he needs it so much that he's willing to pretend. And sometimes it seems like if a guy does something like that, it's because, well, he's overly sexual or all of that. The truth is, most guys go to places like that because they're feeling undersexual and they need that masculinity mirrored back. That's why they're there. And that's why they're like a pest machine doling out dollar bills in this pretend world, because they need it that much.
Yeah. One of our listeners, Minerva, was asking, wrote, sounds like a lot of ego stroking. Do we get the benefits from that? And how can we make it authentic if we don't really feel it?
Well, we navigate to the truth, to where we really do feel it. If we're with a partner, try to see those things that partner does for us, or in ways that that partner is masculine. And so we navigate that, even if it's something small. So ego stroking is a harsh term, because I would use the term validating and appreciating and gratitude. And the same thing that a man would do for a woman. She puts on clothes in the morning and her makeup and does her hair, and he says, "You look beautiful," or "I love how your hair looks today," or that dress looks, or blouse looks so good on you. That's not ego stroking. That's truth. And it's coming from truth. And so often we keep the truth to ourselves. Like, we'll think, "Oh, she looks good," and we don't even share it. But the more details that we can share, the more potent it is. Same with a man. You're just finding not only the big things, but the small things. Like, wow, you've been, I can see you've been working out, or whatever it may be, or those, I can't believe how good those shoes look on you, that you just got, it'll make them feel like $1,000,000. So there's not a falsehood to it. It's navigating to the truth, and having that truth in the foreground rather than way in the background.
Well, and it's also, if you can't find kind and loving things to say about the man that you're with, that might be a sign that you're with the wrong man, or that you have a highly critical nature and that you're looking for the flaws instead of all of the positive things about this person. So one of the ways that we keep ourselves separate from someone in a relationship is by looking for what's missing instead of all the wonderful things that are there. And this is part of the critical mind. And one of the simplest exercises that we give couples, back when I was coaching couples, one of the simplest things was an exercise that comes from the Gottmans called appreciations. And it's where a couple will go back and forth 3 times and say, "Something I appreciate about you is ... And then the other person will say, "Thank you. And something I appreciate about you is..." And it trains the couple to start, especially if there's been a lot of wounding and damage and disappointment in the relationship, it trains the couples to start to look for the positive things and acknowledge them. And this is something, as you have said, baby, that, relationships, it's almost like we have one of those old single lens reflex cameras with a, manual focus lens, and that you can choose to focus on the positive things and the negative things recede into the background, or you can focus on all the negative things and the positive things will recede into the background. So I think that that's very, very important. Another one of our listeners says, "What if you're just starting a relationship? What does it sound like?"
Well, starting on the first date, or even with texting, it's having insatiable curiosity about the man, and that will make him feel very important and very masculine. Just, "Wow, tell me, so at work you do, wow, that's major, or that's important." So it could start with texting, it could start with the first date. But that insatiable curiosity, and mirroring back that validation of, "Wow, you build houses, you're a carpenter, but that must take an enormous amount of skill and training. I have so much respect for you." And there are few words that a man can appreciate more than respect. That I have so much respect for you. And that could start on texting. It gets started on the first date. It gets started at the beginning of a relationship.
And the other one is you're my hero.
Yes. I often have that in the profiles, that when in the profiles, a woman will say, describe herself and all of that, and also what she's looking for. And often I'll have, you will be my hero if you are emotionally available, financially stable, kind, have a generosity of spirit, all of those things. But a man wants to hear that, instead of don't bother to call, or write me if you're not emotionally available, if you're not generous, if you're not. But the difference between that and you will be my hero if you are, it says the same thing, and it's day and night.
Mm-hmm. Another one is, it makes me so happy when
Yes.
you do this, right?
Right.
That's another one. Or it turns me on when you do that.
Right. I mean, when I shave in the morning, I can be described as like a duck. And there's just water all over the place. I think it's just the position of the sink. It's me. And instead of Lisa saying, look at this mess. How am I supposed to put my makeup on? I think you said, it would make me so happy if you just dried off the sink, and all that. Done. I don't think there was another day, except, maybe if I was in a hurry or something, that the sink was, like a swamp.
Yeah. And it's really part of the beauty of loving a man. Loving you is making you feel like a man. And I know that growing older for both of us, we're both now I just turned 60. This is a whole new chapter of my life. You're going to turn 70. Yeah. I don't want to remind you. You still got a whole year to go, but we're at that stage of our lives where we're moving into a part of our lives that I think we never conceived that we would be at this age, right? You just never think you're going to actually get there. And one of the decisions I know I made, I'm digressing, when I was younger, as I started to mature, was I wanted to relax into old age. I didn't want to dread it. I didn't want to go into old age fighting it or being angry or trying to resist that. But I wanted to relax into old age, and I wanted it to be graceful for me. And I think we've both been able to enter into this, this chapter of our lives with grace and ease and confidence, right? And a lot of that comes, I know, for you have just gotten more handsome with age, and that is true. That's not me being nice. I look at you and I'm like, damn, like that man is handsome. We go to a party and I look at the other gentlemen, who are aging and who are similar in age, especially in Santa Fe. There's a much older population here, which is kind of nice. And I look around and I think, wow, my husband looks so good, so good. And I'm so proud to be with you when we walk into a room. Even women will say to me, wow, your husband is so handsome. And this is so nice when I'm doing, when I do breakthrough calls for my coaching program. And by the way, just as an aside, for anyone who may want to work with Benjamin and me and just get this solved and find true love, if you want to jump on a call with me, or a member of my team, I'm going to put this here, go to lisashield.com. That will take you to my website, and then you can click on the button there to watch my 45-minute presentation. And if you watch that presentation and you really like what you hear, click the button and we can jump on a call. We do what are called breakthrough calls. And I or a member of my team will show you how we can just get this solved. I was writing an email today, and what I realized was that so many women are struggling. You are reading books, you're sitting there watching YouTube videos, you're talking to your girlfriends ad nauseum, and all you want is a solution. All you want is to find the guardian of your soul and get this solved. And what you're doing by trying to solve this on your own is you're wasting time, the most precious thing we have, right? Benjamin and I just celebrated 19 years together, 19 of the most extraordinarily beautiful years any two people could celebrate on this planet. I mean, I feel like for as long as this can last, we have found heaven on earth. This has been a miracle and magical, and you don't want to waste a moment of this. One of the big issues for a lot of very successful women is that you're used to doing everything on your own, and you pride yourself in being able to just get things solved. Keep doing that, and the thing that you're going to do is you're just going to keep growing older and wasting time when there is a solution. So just go to lisashield.com and click on that link to watch my presentation, and let us show you how in 12 short weeks we can teach you everything you need to know so you can have this. So I'm Lisa Shield, and this is my lovely husband, Benjamin Shield, and this has been Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. Learn how to mirror a man's masculinity back to him. Don't go into your relationships, into your dating, just waiting for men to do that for you. Men need this kind of mirroring and feedback as much as we do. If you really want to feel feminine with your man, start mirroring his masculinity back to him. Honey, what has it been like for you for 19 years to have a woman who just loves you with every cell in her being, and tells you 1,000 times a day in big and small ways, what a man you are? What does that feel like for you?
It feels like I'm surrounded by love, like this. I'm in a balloon of love. And whatever I'm doing, whether it's going to the dry cleaners, whether I'm listening to the news and it's bad news, whether it's a hard day, whether it's a good day, I know that I'm surrounded by love, and it makes everything all right. It makes I couldn't imagine what it would be without that.
Yeah. And even men who say they don't need this, like a lot of men will say, well, I don't need compliments, or for some men, it even makes them uncomfortable. Some men are they're longing for it, and yet just like women, they push it away.
Mm-hmm. And some of these are the same guys that will drive, incredible sports cars, have really expensive clothes, fancy watches, all of that. And part of it's for themselves, but part of it is to be acknowledged, even silently. They're doing it because they want that, to say, hey, I'm a man, I can earn this, I'm, capable, I'm better than other guys. And so it's a silent way for them to try to reach out and get that validation brought back to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it would be, sometimes women feel like men are trying to impress them with a cool car, or by taking them to, certain places, or like being flashing around their money and, how successful they are. But really, they're trying to prove to women and show women how successful and how masculine they are, and that they're better than other men. And we often find it a turnoff, but it may be that we need to step back and say, wow, look at your car. Wow, don't you have a beautiful home? Or, gosh, you have a very impressive job. And as much as it may be hard to do that, the truth is men are wanting to impress women with those things.
I don't think as guys we ever stop being that 6-year-old on a diving board and saying, look at me, look at me, look at me, and I'm going to do a fancy dive. We never lose that. It just changes with age, the stages of our lives. But we have always needed that. We always will need that.
All right, honey. Thank you again for another wonderful, wonderful talk. I love you. I'm so grateful to you for doing this with me and for sharing yourself with all these women. I know it's not, in your natural frequency to do this. And I know in large part you do it out of love for me. So thank you. I'm very grateful. And I really, for me to be able to share you with other women and with other people is really a gift. So thank you for that. And thank you for giving a piece of your Sunday. Our Sundays are...
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, well, our Sundays are sacred. So I know that this is, a big thing for you to do this. Thank you, everybody, for listening, for all of... here's a couple of... There is a question here. So let's answer this last question. How to find an honest person and grow with that person. This is from Derek Singh.
Well, time and being vulnerable yourself, because you can find if that your partner or potential partner is vulnerable or honest through their vulnerability. And you can tell if they're hiding something. So as you begin to unfold your own vulnerability and seeing how it's received and responded to, and if it's not received well, or in particular, if it's not responded well to it, there may be something withholding, and it can be a red flag. So my sense is the first step is really gently, gently sharing those deeper parts of yourself without oversharing, seeing how it's responded to. And if that person honestly opens and say, yes, this happened to me, or boy, I wish that had happened to me, because you begin to understand not only their honesty, but their heart.
Yeah. And Derek, it's something like Benjamin said, it takes time. So one of the biggest mistakes that we're making today in relationships is that we rush in so quickly. We just go so fast and we project. We do a lot of projection. We want, that honest person, and we want a relationship, and we want it to be extraordinary. And so instead of building slowly, many, many, many of us just start off way up here, and we start to project and we make assumptions. And this is something that really, it takes time. You have to go through some life experiences, and you have to really see, is this person showing up consistently over time, right? Or am I noticing just little things like that just don't line up, that don't feel congruent? She's saying one thing and then she's doing another. So pay attention and be very careful, because rushing in too quickly is where we really, get caught. We really trip ourselves up. Yeah. And then Maria said, I met someone, we went out a couple of times. I asked him, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And he answered that he doesn't know.
Yeah. And he may not. He may not. He may not be in the position he wants to be in right now in life. And so um, it's like a marble finding the groove. His marble may not have found the groove yet. And so it's an honest answer. Some guys would say, well, I figure I'm going to be making well into the six figures and this and that and that. For a man to say, I don't know, is a very, very vulnerable thing for a man to say. Um, so I would explore that. I would, if you really, really like him or begin to like him because you've only been out a couple times, um, just gently supporting him and saying, what, if you had a dream job or if you could do anything you want, if you could just wave a magic wand and do anything you want, what would it be? And just help him in that dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, asking more specific questions, Maria, instead of such a generalized question, like as Benjamin was saying, it will help him focus. And well, where in your career would you like to be would you like to be thinking about retirement? Would you want to be, in a higher level position? So it's better to ask, the more general question and then help him to get more specific. And even then, share from your own perspective. These are some of the things I'm looking at in 5 years. This is where I would like to be in my life, because a man may feel like it might be a setup. Is she asking me, where do I want to be in my career? Or how much traveling do I want to do? Or is she asking me specifically, like, do I want to get married and have kids? So it can bring up like, whoa, that's a big, broad question. So I don't think it's a bad thing. Like Benjamin said, his vulnerability, he was very honest with you. All right, everybody. This has been Getting Inside the Right Male Mind with my lovely husband, Benjamin Shield. I'm Lisa Shield. You can learn more about the work I do by going to lisashield.com. You can also you can go to my praise page and see all the women that I have helped find the guardians of their souls. If that excites you and you really want to just do the right work to get this solved now, please watch my 45-minute presentation, and then we can jump on a call. I can show you how I can help you get this solved in 12 weeks and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye. We'll see you next week.